We've been so patient. I feel like maybe we deserve a win at some point. I just don't want the little cub to be running around and for us to get between her and the cub. That's all I don't want. So I'm hoping that because of the weather conditions, the little one is inside and having a good little nap. And there's some Franklins running around. I don't think that's going to be a sign of her being here, but let's try. It'll be extreme Franklin if they are there and she's been lying there with a little cub, because that could be maybe what she even was eating yesterday. I know Scotty said she had something to eat, so maybe a little Franklin, unsuspecting scrub hare. I've seen quite a few different animals here over the last little bit. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to park. Can you see her? Ah, there she is. She is there. So we're just going to park like this, front on, and we're going to stay nice and quiet. This is so exciting. So she is there. She's lying just in that long grass. I don't see any sign of the cub just yet, but I'm sure the cub might come out. So there you can see the top of her ears just looking at us. Good morning, girl. How are you? So she is there, which is fantastic news. Now, I'm interested to see how she reacts to the roof and how she kind of takes it in with this kind of bigger object than what we've got. We've parked quite far away and we're up the bank, and she is going to look at us, and she is going to probably every now and then let a little snarl out because, well, she is that way when she's around the cub. But let's just see. If we just sit nice and still, maybe she'll relax. Proud Cat Mamba, you're asking when will Thandi's cub start traversing around her? Well, normally around sort of 12 weeks, so 3 months, is when we start to see them first coming towards prey or food items, and so that's normally when it starts to traverse around with her. Outside of that, you're going to find that it'll probably be only about, I would say, 6 months to 8 months where it's actually walking around constantly and is no longer really in a den situation. But at 3 months, it will be starting to be taken towards food and to basically be introduced to meat and to start feeding on meat. Okay, girl. It's okay. Now, you can see she's a little grumpy every now and then, and she will growl, and maybe it's because the little cub is moving around just to the right there, so she will sometimes hiss and growl. Sometimes it's even aimed at the cub itself, so I don't know if it's maybe there or maybe just a little bit to the right, Ferg. There it is. There it is. Look at that. There it is. How cute is that little one? Look, it's all soggy and it's busy moving around. How cute. So that's why she was a little growly, is because the little one wasn't far away. Okay, girl. So she does get like that a little bit when it's her little cub. So what I might do is I might just move a little bit and just give her a chance. Okay, girl. So you can see she's not exactly that comfortable with where we are. So we're just going to move back a little bit further and give her a bit more space that she feels a lot more comfortable. You can see now that I'm moving back, she's okay again. So I don't know what it is about the Ellies and Thandi now at the moment. It's like I say, the roof might also be a part of it. The roof is not the most ideal structure to be in at the den. It's got a little bit more kind of height to it, and I suppose it's a bit more imposing. But if we just stop back here, hopefully she'll be okay. She's still creeping around inside there, and at least we've moved away a little bit, and that will make her feel a bit more confident about what's going on. But the little cub is not perturbed at all. You can see it's just bouncing around all over the place and in and out of little thickets, and that's also why she probably gets a little upset, is that the cub is around and it is moving, and so she's just aware of that and is a little bit kind of unsure of her cub going too close to where we are. So when the cub ventures closer towards us, that's often when she gets a little bit more upset. But she very visibly is kind of protecting that cub. So it's not really that she's upset with the vehicles, because we know we've followed Thandi a lot, and it's more that the cub is moving around and she's unsure of where it's going to go, and she's just making a very clear point to us that that is her cub and she needs to keep it nice and safe. Now, it's interesting because Nikki's telling me that I'm parked in exactly the same place as where Scott was yesterday, and she didn't growl at him. So maybe the roof is it. Maybe it's the fact that it's a bit cold and wet this morning. She's a little bit cranky. But let's see how we go. I mean, she's turned her back to us now, which is good. If she was really upset with us, you would find she wouldn't have turned her back like that. She would have gone and sort of come forward and kept sort of challenging us. So it's exactly the same thing as the Ellies yesterday. It's just about kind of finding a balance where both she's comfortable and us, and that's how we go. And we don't want to negatively impact her, so it's better to just increase the space. I mean, at the end of the day, look at that, we can still see the little one in amongst the thickets, and so there's no reason for us to worry too much about getting any closer. Where we are now seems to be fine, although I think she's taking that little one back into the little cave now, probably to go and sleep inside there. Joshua, you're wondering if it's better to have one cub. Look at this little thing. Is this thing not the sweetest? It's so busy as well. It's all over the place. So, Joshua, I mean, there's no better thing. One or two doesn't really matter. I mean, obviously, one is less work than having two or three. 3 and 2, there's a lot more food that you've got to find. It's a lot more work to protect them. So, I mean, I suppose it's not better for a leopard to have 1 or 2. The leopard wants to have as many as it can. And so, if it can have more than 2, oh, look at that little face. Isn't that the sweetest thing? How cute is that? So it's a nice spot where we're in now because Thandi is just to the right. So, if we keep our voices down and just sit where we are, we're not making direct eye contact with her, which is what leopards don't really like. They don't like to have direct eye contact made with them. So if we just sit here, it's perfect. And the little cub is bouncing around all over the place, so we will get views of it. And it's important that we just, try and respect the space as much as possible. So cute, though. That is the cutest little thing, particularly when it pokes its head up over the grass. It is amazing. Very cool. I wonder if it's maybe been called back by mom and has been told, in you go. This is not acceptable that you are bouncing around all over the place. Very cool, though. Super cute. So, catch the name, if you can just repeat it. 80, that's right, sorry. We got my audio. So, it is problems. Do you want to know how many little ones has Thandi had? Had 2 cubs in her first litter, which was Wabiyiza and a young one that unfortunately died. Then she had Bahuti and another cub. Also, that one unfortunately got killed. Then she had Kuchava and also a litter mate, which was killed, and then Tamba and a litter mate. So you can see that she keeps having 2 and only raising. She's just got the 1. So it's 5 cubs that 4 cubs she's raised. This is the 5th one, but in total, she's had 9 cubs in her lifetime. So she's got a sort of just over 50% success rate at this sort of period before this one. We can't really call this one a success just yet, just because it hasn't quite gotten out of those really sort of dangerous times. Only once it reaches a year can we call it a successful kind of raising, but it went bounding off in that direction. How far, I'm not quite sure, but it's definitely moving around all over the place, which surprises me. Scott said to me yesterday that this little thing was running around everywhere, so it's pretty incredible how it's a little adventurer and seems to be loving this little den that it can bounce around in, go and sort of fluff about and check in the grass, go up and down the trees. And I was saying in times before when we've come to this den that it is just the most incredible little cub to grow up. There's fallen over trees, there's little stumps, there's little gullies, and so lots of playground material for it to bounce around all over the place. The good news is when we were sitting here and when Thandi got up and kind of came towards us, then we reversed back slightly and she was absolutely fine with that. So, well, the little cub was, so that's good news. It means that she's not scared of the car. So we will continue to get really good views of her. Now, while we sit here, because of the fact that we're having a bit of a breakup in our audio and our picture, we're going to try and just reposition slightly. And while we do that, let's go back across to Ralph in the Masai Mara so he can say good morning. Well, I wish you good luck, Ralph, and I hope that you find them. I'm sure that you will. If they're calling, hopefully they'll lead you right to where they are. Now, Thandi is just settled at the entrance to the den. You can see she's kind of listening about. The cub, the last time we saw it, was going off down the drainage line, and we have no idea where it's disappeared to. It hasn't come back to where Mom is, but she's just sitting patiently, and she seems to be far more relaxed now. So she is listening and she is looking around, but she seems to be a lot more relaxed about what's going on. It seems as though the times that she gets a little bit growly and a little bit upset is when the little cub comes closer towards where we are. That's when she tends to seem to get a little bit more on the agitated side. If the cub goes the other way, then she seems to be absolutely fine about the whole thing. So, Michael, you're wondering if leopard cubs adjust to weaning better or faster than lion cubs do? I don't know. I suppose yes, actually, maybe in sort of retrospect. If you see, I just want to watch where she goes. If you see, lion cubs, often when they're already 2 years old, they're still trying to suckle from a female that's producing milk. It's just almost like the competition in amongst them causes them to want to suckle more. Whereas leopard cubs, once that female dries up, there's no other females around to suckle from, and so it tends to break that weaning process much faster than it would on a lion cubs. The lions tend to get away with it a little bit longer than what the leopards do. So I suppose, yes, that is the case. Also, you'll find that leopard moms can get quite feisty with their cubs at times and will kind of push them off milk as quickly as possible, whereas as lion cubs, because there's so many of them, the mom tends to kind of lactate for quite a while. I've noticed also with leopards, when they have just one litter like that, or one in their litter, that little one starts to go on to solid food very quickly and very seldom actually has anything sort of to do with milk by the time they reach 7 months. They're already well weaned by that. So it's interesting. I remember Tiani, she was not suckling 6 months and she stopped suckling. So she was making her first kill at 4 months. So it was an interesting thing, as she just got enough meat that she didn't need to suckle very much at all. Now, I'm just trying to watch what Thandi's doing. She seems to be kind of, I don't know what she's busy with. Tail is kind of bobbing around a little bit, but like I said, I just don't want her to be getting upset with us and I can't see what she's doing. So you can also see why we struggle to see her. It's really a perfect den site. It's got a thicket. There's obviously a little cave inside there that she just disappears completely into. And if you came along here now, you would never know that there's a leopard with its little cub sitting in underneath there. And that's why tracking leopards and trying to find them can be such difficult work sometimes, and also can be very, very dangerous. And you've got to be careful when you have a leopard and a cub around, because where you're walking, you've got to have your eyes and your wits about you, because you wouldn't want to walk into Thandi in this area. She's not going to be very impressed with somebody just arriving at her den and moving around. So better to just keep aware and also to follow her from kills if the den moves, rather like we did with this den site, rather than actually just trying to track her on foot. But that little tail there is going to be very good for us to watch, because if that tail decides to start flicking and moving, then we know that she's getting a little on the upset side. You can just see it in the grass, and it seems as though it's fairly relaxed, and so I think we're okay for now, which is good news. Still no sign of the little cub coming back again. It seems as though it's still moving around on the other side somewhere. Proud Cat Mama, you wondering if I think the cub is wandering off too far from its mother? Well, I suppose maybe it is a little bit, but if I remember Tiani was a little adventurer. She also would go all over the place and away from Mom, and I can remember Saleh saving her life 3 times in the first 8 or actually 12 weeks from hyenas, where she would drift off and hyenas would come along and she would then run in and try and chase those hyenas off before they got to the cub. And the one time was so close. That little cub only just made it to a rock, and the mom arrived and got the hyena as it was trying to bite at the cub. So, it's it is sometimes a worry when they do drift off a little bit, but Thandi's a good mother. There's no mistaking it. She's very protective of her little one, and she's very observant. So you can see she's always looking around, always checking, always watching, trying just to make sure that there isn't anything that's too close that could potentially hurt the cub. And like I say, every time you see that cub coming closer to us is when Thandi's concern gets up, and she comes and she tells us, right, you're too close, back off from my cub. When the cub goes the other way, you can see Thandi faces and watches the cub. She doesn't really care too much for us, and you'll know she'll be sitting there and she'll know where that cub is all the time. She'll probably either be able to not only to see it, but she'll maybe be able to hear where it's moving around, and that will mean that she can keep it nice and safe. So for now, no, I don't think so. I mean, it's got to explore, it's got to play, it's got to learn, it's got to work out how to climb and how to run around, because soon it's going to be starting to be moved by Thandi moving it. That because when we've checked all these other den sites, we've never found a cub track that she's been carrying these cubs or this to any of the dens that she's used, and soon she's going to have to use her own 4 legs, or its own 4 legs, should I say. I don't know if it's a girl or a boy, to carry itself around, and so it's worth it. Well, hopefully the gremlins have left us alone. Interestingly enough, Thandi has just gotten up and she's walked out. The little cub is following her as she's walking away from us. They're going deeper into that thicket on the other side, but she did pick up a carcass of what I'm not quite sure. It looked like either a scrub hare or a vervet monkey. I couldn't quite see nicely, but there were 2 back legs, and she then dragged it off a little bit into the bush and then put it down at the entrance to the den, and then she's now walking up into that thicket. But the little one is bounding around after her and is moving with her as she's going, but I think she's starting to leave the den now. If you look for a little bit of movement, you'll see the tail every now and then, and the little one is in amongst that area with the tail and kind of moving around and chasing mom's tail around and bouncing around all over the place. It's kind of full of beans this morning. Maybe the cooler weather means that it is going to be that way, but you can see she's just in the back there underneath that fallen over tree. Ferg, do you want me to go back slightly maybe? Let's try if we go back. It's not really much of a view from where we are, unfortunately, and I don't want to go too close to where she is. There we go. So, Lara Moore, you're wondering if we've got any guesses as to the gender of the cub. Unfortunately not. I mean, I haven't seen it for long enough to go, look, there it goes. Look at how small it is. It's so cute. Come on, that is the cutest thing in the whole world. And look how it just climbs around. Hello, little one. Are you going to follow Mom? Are you going to go for a little expedition? This is so cool. There you go. There goes Thandi, a little one in tow, so you can get a nice idea of how big it is. Look, there it goes. That is as cute as it could ever be. That is so cool. We are so spoiled that we get to see this and that we get to be a part of this process as she grows up, or he grows up, like I say, Laura. We don't know if it's a male or a female. Maybe some of you can zoom into some of these screenshots as it bounds away from us and maybe can get a little ID. There we go. It almost looks like a little female, doesn't it? It kind of looks a little bit like a female there. So whoever can get a screenshot of that particular part and blow it up, we can maybe get a 6 on what this little one is. So, Anna-Marie, it'll be about 3 months when Thandi's cub is old enough to go to a kill with her. Although Thandi is introducing her to meat now. At the end of the day, this meat, this little carcass that she's got, this scrub hare or monkey or whatever it is right at the entrance to the den. And that little one will be sniffing around and maybe chewing on it and biting on it just because it's a youthful exuberance. And so you never know. Maybe that's what's going to happen, and you're going to see a situation where it's already introduced, but normally 3 months is when they are introduced to meat and are taken to carcasses for the first time. Thandi seems to be sort of writing her own rule book, because as Scott mentioned yesterday, it's also a first for me to ever see a carcass at the den site itself where the little cub is kept. It really is quite insane to think that she's doing that. So be truthful. You're wondering if other animals wouldn't smell her and the cub, particularly with a carcass. Yes, they would. So it's dangerous to have a carcass near the den, and that's why generally they don't do it, is because that means that things like hyenas can find this area and find the den quite quickly. Who knows? Maybe she's now taking this cub off to a new den. Who knows? It's difficult to say. That she's gone off far from where we are. I can't see her anymore. The problem is on the top side there is very dense and very thick, and I don't want to go crashing around with her and the cub kind of in tow. I'll go back round to the road and see if we can get a view from the road, and maybe we'll get lucky, but I don't want to try and sort of chase her anywhere, but she's maybe moving it somewhere else. So, Lynn, you're wondering if we ever found out what she was eating yesterday at the den. I would imagine it's the same thing. I think it's a scrub hare, because it's just the two front legs or back legs left. It's the two legs of something is left. The rest of it is all gone. She just picked up that. So I'd imagine it's the same thing, but it looked very scrub hare-like to me. It was quite long, greyish coloration on the legs, so either a vervet monkey or a scrub hare. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the road. The road is actually not far at all. I'd say maybe 50 meters from us is where Twin Dams Road is, and so let's just go back to the road. Maybe we can get a view from the road itself. If we see her coming back down this way, well, we can come back. Otherwise, what I might do is just leave her where it is now. We've had such a brilliant sighting of seeing that little one running around that I don't want to push our luck too much. So, James, you're wondering if this den site looks like a safe place from a risk of flooding. Well, James, there's a lot of vegetation there, which, I mean, that must have grown over the last little bit. We know that this area flooded last year, so, I mean, no, I don't think so. In my mind, no. It's obviously very possible that the cave goes up and it could be okay, but in my mind, it doesn't look like a very risk-free place from a flooding point of view. The thing is that wild animals are very perceptive creatures, and so I'm pretty sure she will be able to sense if big rains are coming and then maybe move that cub accordingly. So I'm not too worried about it just yet. I think she's a clever enough mom, and she's dealt with the floods of 2012 before, so I think she'll be just fine. Now, while I go up and try and get out of here without Rusty squeaking so much, let's go back across to Scotty and see what his plans are now that his leopard has crossed south over the boundary. Right, yeah. Oopsie. Sorry, girl. I didn't see you there. Sorry, my girl. Have you brought your cub to a new den? So she's right in front of us, which is a long way from where we were. We're a long way from the den now. I'm all the way up onto Central Road, so I don't know why she's come here. I'm just going to back up a little bit further because I didn't actually see her, to be honest with you, and she, I think, has moved her cub, to be honest. I think because she's got that carcass at the other den, I think she's got a situation where she's moved it and put it in under these little pipes here, which is very out in the open. Now, let's just see if the little cub does come back into this area. She seems to be okay for now, so I'm surprised that she's here. I really didn't think she would have gotten this far. Is the little cub there? Yes, the little cub is with her. So she's brought the cub a long way away. I think she's decided she wants to try and move it to another den. So she's brought it all the way to these pipes that are at Giraffe Dip, and she's going to put it there in the little pipes that are here. So this is an area that we're going to probably have to now zone. Well, not zone, but we're going to have to be careful of when we drive around here, because leopards love to use pipes. I know that shadows use them, karulas use them. They've all used them, but there's a little one. Look at it. How sweet is that? You've gone on a big walk this morning, little one. You've gone a long way from where you were, and I'm sure it's because of that carcass that was at the den. I'm sure she's gotten to the point where she doesn't want to leave this little cub where there's meat, and so she's now finding a new den. Look at it. It's so cute. It's trying to go up the bank, but it can't get up. You are a little adventurer already, and very relaxed as well, considering Mom is moving around as much as she is, and this is good for us. This is good to see Thandi walking, and look at that. How cool is this? This is so cool. Don't worry, girl. I'm going to let you go and carry on. She's going back towards where the carcass is. Maybe it was just to come and see what was going on, and she's decided she's not going to do it. But how cool. Look at it just trundling along. This is so spectacular. Now, I'm just giving her a little bit of space, letting her walk a little bit before I reposition ourselves, and hopefully once we go towards the little bridge there, we'll be able to see her. She's coming around this side, but I don't really want to follow her too much. I just want a situation where we can kind of just keep tabs on her. So she's just straight through. She's in there. You can see her moving away from me with the little one at the moment, and she's going back the way she's just come. So I don't know if maybe this is just to show the little one around and take it and just check what else is out here. But at least she's moving this little one, and that's amazing news. How epic is that? That little one is so cute and mobile as well. You can see it's bounding along after mom. Very cool to see. And this is what we need, is we need more positive encounters like this with Thandi, where we see her, we watch her go about her business, we let her kind of walk away from us and move kind of down into the drainage lines, and we don't actually worry her too much. But that was so exciting. There she's going to come out right out into the open. So she's moving back towards the other den. So let's go back across. So there she goes. You see she's just on top right out in the open. The little cub I don't think is able to climb just yet. Can you just a little bit forward? Okay. So she's starting to come back to fetch her cub, because her cub was struggling to get up the bank. So there she is, and there's the little one. Where are you going? You can't go back down. So Thandi's now coming back down and saying, hey, you have to come with me. You've got to go where I tell you to go. And the little one is being a typical naughty little cub and is doing its own thing and is messing around and playing around. There it goes. How cool is that? You're so small still, little one. In amongst mom's feet as per normal. Is that not the cutest thing?